problem we have right now in America, all the way around, is that several years ago, the pharmaceutical companies came to the government and said, unless you do something about the problems we're having with this thing we're doing that has a lot of adverse reactions, we're going to quit making the vaccines. So the government stepped in and created an immunity. Right now, pharmaceutical companies have total immunity for vaccines. They are not responsible for any adverse reactions or death from the vaccines. You get a vaccine and you're on your own. And so that's one of the things we're faced with here is this bold, self-righteous requirement that to protect people and require the vaccine. But no one is recognizing who's going to be responsible for the adverse reactions. And there are adverse reactions. I have a report in Medicare, out of Medicare, which is a very accurate report that shows we're having significant reactions and numbers of deaths. And so until somebody says they're going to be responsible, all we're doing is shoveling back off on the worker that if they get the vaccine and have an adverse reaction, they've got to take care of it themselves. So for those that are advocating that this is the right thing to do, somebody is going to have to step up and say who's going to be responsible for it. And Mr. Chairman, that's one of the main things that's missing from this whole thing is it's all dumped on the individual that is being forced to take this medical procedure, experimental medical procedure that is far from perfect, well documented far from perfect, in which we have had thousands of people die and thousands of people end up in the hospital, but they are responsible for it, not the employer, not the government, not the manufacturer who's putting it out. And until we get that solved, Mr. Chairman, I don't think there is any way we should ever allow a mandate in any form that would require someone that has to feed their family to have to take that risk themselves. And I think you would probably agree with me that someone ought to be accepting that risk, and it's probably not something you've even thought about. And I think those businesses, and the hospitals in particular, that are so adamant about forcing people to take a vaccine should be stepping up and to say, take that vaccine and I'll be responsible for you after you've done it. But not one of them have done that yet.